Shawna and Jody here with Real Sisters, Real Talk.
We're glad to have you joining us as we talk about growing in our faith with God.
Hello, hello. Welcome back to Real Sisters, Real Talk. I'm Shawna. That's my sister Jody, and we just consider it such a privilege to have this time with you. And this is such a fun time of year. We're at the holidays. We've made it through Thanksgiving. High five. Hopefully you were blessed and had a great Thanksgiving. And we're just still a couple weeks away from Christmas, but there is a really special day in between there for our family, and it's our oldest sister Dawn's birthday. Happy birthday, sis.
Happy birthday, Dawn.
Yeah. So fun. And in the midst, I hope she feels celebrated and loved in the midst of, being kind of sandwiched between the holidays. I know that when there's a lot going on, folks that have a birthday in there can feel like it gets missed, but we don't want you to be missed on. We love you.
Absolutely.
This is also, this time of the year, Jodes, is pretty special to me because it was Christmas time. It was this time of year that the Christmas story really came alive to me, and I really fell in love with Jesus. So I was, we grew up in a Christian home, so I always knew that God loved us, and I always loved him back, to be honest. But it was that particular Christmas story when I was 13 years old that the whole reality that Jesus came, gave up heaven to come to earth to be with me, to be with us, to live his life here among us as one of us, like Emmanuel, that part of the story just so captivates my heart. And I think I have to tell you, because we talked about this a few weeks ago. I don't know if we talked about this last week or not, but Grant, Eden, and Selah came from Australia, and they were with us for 10 days. So after being with you, did you guys have a good time with them?
Oh my goodness, we had such a great time with them. What a blessing. And she is such a sweetie, that little Selah.
Isn't she a
I mean, her mommy
pumpkin?
and daddy are pretty great too, but
Mm-hmm.
she's a doll.
Yeah, it was so good to have all of it. Her little feet, her chubby little self. She's so strong. She's so fun. She's 4.5 months now, and yeah, just crazy fun. But they came all the way from Australia. This was like, the travel, I want to say it was like a 15-hour flight. And Selah, bless her heart, she slept for 8 hours straight, and then she took another hour and a half long nap. So she was like an incredible little international traveler. But that is a long time to travel, and it's an expensive flight, times two. Selah's still free, but anyway, it cost them a lot. It cost them time, it cost them financially to come and see us. And the whole time that they were here, I just wanted to be with them. I know what it cost them to come. And I couldn't
Yeah.
help but think as I drove them across the state yesterday and said my goodbyes, and oh, that was awful, awful, awful. Like leaving there with no car seat in my car was absolute torture. But I thought a lot of things as I reflected on our time together. But one of the things that I thought was just how costly it was for Jesus to leave heaven and come to earth, what he gave up to be with us. Because I was thinking about what my kids had given up to be with us for 10 days and
Yeah.
how precious that was to me and how much I valued it. And I think at this time of the year, it can be, things can be pretty crazy and pretty busy. Um, and I want to be as intentional about being with Jesus in these days leading up to Christmas as I was about being with my kids for them coming, like such a bigger sacrifice that Jesus made. But it's his withness, the Emmanuelness of him that made me want to just commit my life to him. And I was 13 years old, and I was like, the big determining factor for me, or like the thing that made that moment different than any other moment of following Jesus and loving Jesus was I was like, Lord, if everybody else leaves, if for some reason my mom and dad decide not to follow you, if all my sisters leave the faith, like I'm in, this is personal, you and me, we're doing this forever. And it all happened at Christmas time. So yeah, there's Thanksgiving, there's Christmas, there's my spiritual birthday, there's our sister's birthday. There's just so much to celebrate in this season.
Absolutely. I was thinking when you were sharing that about the how much Jesus gave up to come to earth. I think that's one thing that we kind of I don't know if we really spend the time wrestling that out and kind of taking note of what he gave up to
Mm.
come and how much he had to humble himself to do that, because
Yeah,
God, our creator, came down and became his the creation. Like he became one of us. And that doesn't even make sense.
right.
But he loves us that much. And so I just think we lose that. I'm
Mhm.
not sure that we camp on it enough to
I
really.
don't know that we can understand it.
Yeah, you're right.
Like all the but here's some of the ways that it gets me. So for instance, he's the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. He reigns supreme. He left glory to walk on the dirt, right? But like he didn't even come like it's almost as if he was demoted, right? He demoted himself to become like us. But it's not like he even demoted himself to humanity, but he was a powerful king and he was born into royalty. Like he demoted himself to humanity and then as a human came in the lowliest of manners. And it's not just the way in which he entered the world, it was like that's just characteristic of Jesus's life. I mean, to the point of washing feet.
Right. Right. To the point of giving his life on the cross,
Yes,
taking a
yes.
punishment he didn't deserve, we deserve. But he took it on himself. And you just like all of those things, like the way he lived, he was born into a poor family. Yes, in a
Mhm.
manger. Like that is ridiculous. And yet he should have been born in a palace. And, we expect his disciples expected him to be an earthly king, but that's not at all who he came to be. He came to serve, not to be served. And he modeled that with his life all the way through. And so just, I don't know. It's just, I think that's a really important piece in this
Mhm.
Christmas story that we really camp on a little bit.
And even to get upstream from that a little bit is the fact that what motivated him to humble himself to that level was
Yeah.
his love for us. The fact that he
And
desired to be with us and it would require him to give up I mean, all of it, to give up his life, to serve, to even just
yeah.
having Selah here, like having it's been a long time since we've had a baby in the house and having a child at 4.5 months old who's completely dependent on
Yeah.
other people for food, to get her nappy changed. That's what they call diapers in Australia, their nappies, and like complete reliance on other people. Think about that. The
Mhm.
creator not only became creation, right? But
Mhm.
also as a newborn baby, like all of it. And because of his great love for us. It's wild.
Yeah. It is wild. And also to remember that when he created us, he knew that he was going to have to do this. So it wasn't like, "Oh shoot, they
Yeah.
sinned. What now?" Like that was his plan. He loved us so much that he still created us. That blows my mind.
Hmm.
And knowing that he was going to have to come and sacrifice his life in that way. And so just yeah, we really want to let that blow us away this Christmas season. I have a
Yeah.
question for you. As you were kind of sharing your story in the front end of this, I heard words that you were saying. And as you were saying some of the words, Emmanuel, God with us, some of those things, it was triggering verses in my head. So I
Yeah.
wonder, like, do you have verses that you like hold at Christmas time that really like you want to put on the chalkboard or you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah. Yeah, here's one, Matthew
yeah,
1:23. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel, which means God with us, or that's the ESV version, the NIV. The
yeah,
virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and they will call him Emmanuel, which means God with us. I haven't quite found words yet to articulate how taken I am with God's desire to be with me. And it's us, yes, 100%. But like if you
yes,
personalize it and you realize how much God loves you and what it cost him to be with you, not just like a someday be with you, like, this is the heaven plan. So for like when this
right.
life ends, no, no, no. Like right now, he wants to be with you right now. And it's been such a staple in my life to just recognize God's right here-ness, his right nowness in my life has just been an anchor for me. And yeah, I'm just so taken by his Emmanuelness.
I love that. I could hear that when you were sharing your story in the front end. I could hear that in it. And so I love, and I wonder also that the way that you resonate with that, I hear it come out of things that I know about you, like
Hmm.
lies, lies or what is the other word, sister?
Like false
Self
identities.
false identities.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
That
we're
you
tracking. We're
have.
on the same page.
Yep, yep. That you have adopted that this actually Emmanuel ministers to that
Hmm.
place of just letting you know that you don't have to be worthy. You're worthy because he is worthy. Like, he
Right? Yeah,
wants to
because
be with you.
man, like what woman doesn't
Hmm.
want to be pursued, wanted,
Right.
chosen? And that's our reality. And maybe it's not just a female thing. Maybe I think it's not just a female thing, Jodes. I think like
I think
all
so too.
people deeply want to be like, have someone in your life that's like, I see you and I think you're amazing and I love you so much and I just love being with you. Like, we all want to experience that. And that is the love that God offers.
Right. And it's not a I love you when you're being kind and I love you when you're it's
Yeah.
like before you clean anything up, first, I
Hmm.
love you. And that's how he loves us. And that's actually even I think hard for us to grasp. He's just so loving and gracious. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, so that was a little bit of one of the things about the Christmas story that I'm just enamored with is the Emmanuel. What is it about you or for you, what is it about the Christmas story that kind of, I don't know, just like you're left in wonderment about or makes you love him all that much more?
Yeah, I think I mean there is a passage in Isaiah I'd like to share eventually, but I think honestly like the Christmas story in Luke 2 just it does something to my heart every time I read it or
Yeah.
I hear it read. And honestly, my kids had to memorize that when they were in elementary school. And so we all memorized it together. And so we can still recite it, which is so fun when
I love that.
when we do read it, the kids jump right in and I mean, they're, 30 and 27, but they remember it. And Kellen too. And so honestly, there's that portion of scripture, the beginning of Luke 2 all the way through like verse 25, 26, is so precious to me to hear the story of them traveling because there was going to be the census. God or the angels reaching out to the shepherds, and the shepherds are like, well, we better go see what
Yeah, let's go see.
the angels just told us about, like, so let's go check it out. Like,
Yeah.
I just there's so much in that. I think the wonder of it, and I feel like it's wrapped up so concise and so beautifully that I just absolutely, that's my favorite passage to read during this Christmas season.
By any
It
chance, do
it
you have
does
any
my
of
warm fuzzies.
Yay. Do you have any of Luke
Yeah,
2 in front of you?
I do.
Yay! Give us a little bit of Christmas
Yeah.
story.
So, well, I mean, it just starts in those days. Caesar Augustus issued a decree that a census should be taken of the entire Roman world. This was the first census that took place while Quirinius was governor of Syria, and everyone went to their town to register. So Joseph also went up from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea to Bethlehem, the town of David, because he belonged to the house and the line of David,
Hmm.
which we're studying the Old Testament. And so it's so fun at church. And so it's so fun to see that line. He comes from the line of David. He went
Can
there to
I
register with Mary. Yeah.
can I
Jump
interrupt you
in.
real quick? Okay, so one
Yeah.
of the things this is so much fun, but one of the things that I love about everything that you just read is it's historical and it's
Yeah.
specific and it's like
Yep.
it's not like one day once upon a time, because it's not a story with
It's
characters.
not a
it's
story.
it's life, it's history, it's what happened. But like it's I was in Artesia at the corner of Pioneer and you know what I mean? It's like very, very specific. This is an actual place and an actual time and historical figures. Like this is who was ruling and reigning during this time. And I love that part of it.
Yeah, me too. I just want to quickly. So it talks about Jesus being born, and Mary wrapped him in cloths and laid him in the manger because there was no room for them in the inn. It tells that part of the story, and then it tells about the angels going to the shepherds, and the shepherds, telling them, "You need to go see this king that was born." And so the shepherds, say, "Okay, we should probably go do that." But I want to read this part. This is one of my favorite parts. The shepherds come and they worship Jesus, and it says. So they hurried off and found Mary and Joseph, this is talking about the shepherds, and the baby who was lying in the manger. When they had seen him, they spread the word concerning what had been told them about this child. And all who heard it were amazed at what the shepherds said to them. But Mary treasured up all these things and pondered them in her heart. There's a couple reasons that's really one of my favorite parts.
Yeah.
One is my kids were very little when they learned this. I think they were in first grade. And so they still had a little bit of pudge on their little hands and they had motions to the whole thing and they would do Mary pondered them in her heart. And so I can still see it. I can
Their
still see it
little
as a mama.
pudgy hands.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, just yeah. But as as a mom and now a grandma, to think about how Mary treasured up those things and pondered them in her heart. She had been told, she knew this was a miraculous birth. She had been told what was going to take place. She had been told that he would be the Messiah. She knew these things. And now, as it was all coming to happen, she took all these things up and pondered them in her heart. So I just think, I can just imagine, oh Lord, Lord, it's happening. This is the Messiah. How am I supposed to raise this little guy?
Mm.
What do you need from me? What is his life going to be, Lord? Like she didn't know what his story would be. She just knew he was the Messiah. And so she maybe even thought that he would be an earthly king. But that's the piece that I just like that pondered. I want to ponder this in my heart. I want this to be more than just something I read at Christmas time. I want to ponder this in my heart. And I think that's a key piece for me.
I love that. I love that so much. I think, as a mama too, about I don't know, like those 2 a.m., 3 a.m. feedings when it's just you and baby, and they're in your arms, and the world seems to just be more still. Makes me think of the song Silent Night too, right? Like the Christmas song Silent Night. And it's just her and Jesus having a moment together, just the two of them, and
Yeah.
just, I don't know, even just watching him nurse and wondering about all the things, like I did with my own kids, about like what they were going to be like and what they were going to look like when they grew up and all of the things. But to the nth degree, you're talking about the Messiah here. This is not just like her child. Yes, it is her child, but yeah, just thinking about all that it meant, his role and what that would mean. Like I think I would be asking, like, do I protect him? Do I expose him? Do I, you know what I mean? Like I don't know, everything would feel much more consequential.
Absolutely. I can't even imagine the weight of that. And yet it was really all God, right? It was all God. God had a plan and God was going to make it come to fruition in the way that he intended it to do.
And he
But
picked
as a
Mary. Like that had to
yes.
be so validating, not like, "Oh, look at me, he picked me," but like, this is a crazy, crazy role I'm being asked to take and a big job I'm taking on. But of all the people on planet Earth today, God picked me for this moment. So I can trust him with his plan.
Absolutely. And also to remember like she was young.
Yeah.
She was not like seasoned in life and had learned lots of things. So, yeah,
First
that's just
baby,
a
first time baby, man. Like you're
yeah,
just figuring it
right?
out. Yeah.
So it was yeah, that's one of my favorite that whole passage, but that ending, that those last few verses are just absolutely my favorite. The other one I want to
Love it.
share, and I hear this when you talk a lot too, but I love Isaiah 9:6. And it says, oh, where do I have it? I know I have it here somewhere.
I got you if you don't have it.
Yeah, read it.
Okay. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders, and he will be called Wonderful, Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. I don't know that I put the emphasis on all those correctly. I think it's Wonderful Counselor,
Yep,
Mighty God,
the two words
Everlasting
together. Yep.
Father, Prince of Peace. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And though I think those we're actually preaching out of those right now for our Advent season, but our pastors are, but those are so, I mean, really wonderful. So this is prophesied of the Messiah to come. So as Mary's holding this little baby in her arms, she knows this verse. He'll be wonderful counselor, mighty God, everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Like I can you imagine?
It gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. That
Right?
is amazing. I'm curious, what part of when you said this makes me think of you when I hear this, what part of that would
I
connect?
think, um, I think, and I'm not sure. I think I heard some of those kind of words like, uh, you know, everlasting Father. I think I heard some of those words come out of you, and so that's what, when
Gotcha.
as you were sharing earlier, that verse was triggering, um, as you shared it. But yeah, and I do love a lot of the prophetic verses like that that point to the coming Messiah. We need to look at those two. And we've been studying Genesis in our Women of the Word Bible study. And so you go all the way back to Abraham and the promise of the seed in the line of Abraham. And so you look to the promise of the Messiah already back there. And so it's just such a beautiful thing.
It is. It's incredible. Isaiah 53 is another one too. I mean, just
Hmm.
if you read through the whole thing, there's just so many bits and pieces of, I mean, there's so much prophecy in there that's like, you couldn't have lined this all up. It's amazing the prophecies fulfilled in Jesus' birth. And I don't have a list in front of me to be able to rattle those off, but it, yeah, I don't even know. Somebody described it to me this way once. I'm going to do my best. All the prophecies lining up the way that they did, the probability of those landing on Jesus, on one man, would be similar to if you filled the state of Texas with silver dollars a foot deep, but on one of those silver dollars you painted a red mark or something, and you just went to that spot and picked up that silver dollar.
Oh my goodness. That is a visual because Texas is
It's
mighty
big.
big.
Yeah,
Wow, that is incredible. And but that's our God,
that's our
right?
God.
I mean,
And
doesn't it's so beautiful.
yeah, as we I hope that you will take some time to just read through Luke 2 or read through Isaiah
Mhm.
53 or Isaiah 9 and or yeah, Luke 2, just all of the Christmas, all the parts of the Christmas story, and allow yourself to not hear it as a familiar story that you've read or that you've been told, even try to get your mind outside of the little flannel graphs or the Charlie Brown and Lucy doing the little thing. But to realize that this is truth. This is history. This happened for you and me, and to just be in awe at the Christmas story again. I think, kind of like the Grinch at Christmas, his heart grew because it was too small. I think that looking at the Christmas story with wonderment again this year will help our hearts to grow bigger and more fond of him.
I agree. What a blessing. And you know, just as we close up, I want to encourage you. We're going to talk in our next episode about some Christmas traditions. Maybe you make it a Christmas tradition to choose a section of passage to read, whether you want to choose the prophecies or you choose Luke 2. I like Luke 2. I think I made that pretty stinking clear.
Yeah.
And so I like to read Luke 2 around Christmas time with the family and make that a thing. But choose a passage that to be intentional about what your focus is this Christmas season, because we want to be intentional with how we do that. we are so just feel so blessed to have you be a part of this podcast and to be able to share this stuff with you. We also love to hear from you what your favorite verses are. So if you want to share those on our on Instagram, we would love to, or message us on Instagram, or you can also reach us at jodyandshawna.com. We would love to hear from you what your favorite verses are. And as you enter and walk in this holiday, wonderful Christmas season, remember that we serve a real God and he really loves you.